Hello and welcome to a tutorial video about how to create sections in Haiku. This video will talk about the advantages to creating sections as well as the steps that you would follow to do so. So first, when you first get a class that is pulled from Infinite Campus, you're going to see a screen that looks something like this. It's just a plain blank screen and it will have your roster attached to this. The first step in creating sections is to determine which class period it is connected to with Infinite Campus. And the way that you would do that is pretty simple. So you'll navigate over to Manage Class and then click on Edit Roster. You would check the students in your roster. This roster obviously has no students. Your pre-populated classes from Infinite Campus will have students. You want to see the students that you have listed right here and compare that with the classes on Infinite Campus. Once you have figured out that, okay, maybe this is my US History Period 1 class, I can close out of here, go to Manage Class, Class Settings, and then rename this class US History Period 1. This small step will save you some time when we go to actually create the sections. And I recommend that you do this because this will help keep things nice and tidy. A little tip when you're doing this, if you have classes where you don't really necessarily have many repeats, like if you have just one class with 27 students, the roster that you see in Haiku will tell you that you have 27 students, and the roster that you see in Infinite Campus, you'll be able to know that you have 27 students, then that is most likely the same class. So that's a little tip that can expedite that process. Now that you have determined the classes that we'll call your origin classes, the origin classes are the classes that contain the roster data from Infinite Campus, and once you've determined those origin classes, then you can start creating sections. Before you begin, you have to create a master class, and I like to think of the master class as the one Haiku page to rule them all. This is where all of your different sections in your different pages will fall under, and this will be your one-stop shop for creating new content for your Haiku class. So then go to Manage Class, then navigate down to Edit Roster. Once we're in Edit Roster, you're going to go ahead and go to Manage Sections. By default, the sections are labeled Section A, Section B, and every subsequent section will have a letter of the alphabet. I recommend that you rename the section according to the class number. So section 1 is obviously period 1. Section B, rename that to period 2. And you can add sections by clicking on Add Section up here. Section C will be period 3, and so on and so forth. You can go ahead and do this for the class periods that you teach. Once you've got your sections set up, you've made sure that that aligns to your teaching schedule, let's go to section 1, for example. And then now I know that we're working in section 1, I'm going to go to Import Students. And by default, you're going to see a screen that looks something like this. There are a couple things that I recommend that you do. Number 1 is make sure that Only List My Classes is checked. Then press Search, and you'll have all of the classes that you are involved in. This will make the filtering process much easier instead of having to sift through dozens or even hundreds of different Haiku classes. So we're working in section 1. We want to make sure that US History Period 1 is selected, press Import, and it's going to give me two options. We want to make sure that this first option is selected to link US History Period 1 to Section 1, because any change that is made in Infinite Campus will be reflected in your new Haiku class. So make sure that you are selecting Link US History and then press Continue. If you had students that you were importing, you would then see the student names here, and that is your way to quickly check and kind of do a spot check to make sure that this is the correct information. Go press Import Students, and then the students would appear down here. You will go back to manage sections and repeat that process for all of your other classes. Once you have done that, um, all of your different classes will now be in Haiku sections that will fit under that one umbrella of your Haiku master class. And this has some really great advantages. Number one is that you can group the students into class periods for online assignments. So instead of having to sift through 149 submissions, your students are now grouped into their appropriate class size, which will make online grading much easier for you and will also make you more apt to use it. And I think that will also help your students because you can provide them much more timely feedback. The other big advantage now is instead of having to go and manage 6 different Haiku pages and remember, did I update for period 2, what I did to period 1, and so on and so forth, and just spend a lot of wasted time doing that, you can now focus on spending your time and curating content and creating content that will allow you to use Haiku as a way that will best benefit your students and their learning. So that's the general gist of how you would make sections on Haiku. Please let your building instructional technology coach know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.